I don't think there's a better place to start my coverage of what happened today with the Senate hearings in Pennsylvania than by Mike Cernovich's tweet here. I'm not a big fan of Mike Cernovich. I think that he's a little bit of a flip-flopper, but boy, is this just peak Twitter and peak media right now. After today's Pennsylvania hearing, no person of good faith can claim this was a fair and free election. And of course, it has the Twitter tag of this claim about election fraud is disputed. Oh, you just fucking love to see it, but because the media has not given this hearing a fair shake whatsoever, they're just immediately slandering it within the first couple of words by saying baseless allegations, even though, as you're going to find throughout the course of this video, there was anything but baseless allegations put forth today. So unfortunately, we got to continue to use Twitter here because, yeah, like I was saying, those articles that are out there by the media right now are just all slanderous fucking rags, and they don't address anything. It was just like, what was that, a week ago when Rudy Giuliani had his big old press conference there, and all of it was just, his hair dye's running down his head. Yeah, fucking stupid. Anyways, let's take a look. So, I think where we're going to start is the guy who is in charge of this Pennsylvania hearing. He didn't do anything on Twitter, and he got fucking suspended for it. That was his only crime. As you can see here by Jack Posobiec, somebody who I like considerably more. Breaking, Twitter has suspended Doug Mastriano after leading the Pennsylvania Senate hearing today about election fraud. And as you can see, account suspended for violating Twitter's rules by trying to expose the truth? I don't know. Yep, his Senate account, but his Senate account is still operational, but his personal account is not. That is some next level censorship right there. So, okay, first things first. President Trump was not able to come in immediately to the actual hearing. There were rumors he was going to try to, but that didn't end up happening, but he did phone in. So we're going to cover that first before we get into what they brought as evidence. Following one day after Pennsylvania certification, we'll get to that as well, its election results that formalized Democratic nominee Joe Biden's win over President Donald Trump in the Senate's presidential race. Oh, in the state's presidential race, it was being held by the Senate. I know there's so many words, but it all eventually kind of makes sense. Actually, this entire thing's been an entire shit show, but this is definitely a winning video, by the way. Not just my presentation, but the content there within. You guys get what I mean, right? Okay, anyways. Trump phoned into the election irregularities hearing in Gettysburg. I like the way that the post-millennial frames this, and that's how you guys should be approaching this, because as soon as you type in voter fraud, that implies that the actual person casting the ballot did something illegal. But as we know, a lot of not living people, a lot of corporeal forms, as it were absent from the proceedings. In a grand entrance unseen, the president was preceded by an eruption of applause as he spoke from the Oval Office. This is an election that we won easily. We won it by a lot, Trump announced, citing a pro-Trump energy industry in the battleground Keystone State. Trump, unable to join allying attorney, I hope he's doing well, Rudy Giuliani in person, declared over the speakerphone this election was rigged, and we can't let that happen. We can't let it happen in our country. And this election has to be turned around because we won Pennsylvania by a lot, and we won all these swing states by a lot. All right, well, let's see what you got. Anybody watching on television the night of the election was saying, I didn't watch on television. Come on now, Trump. I watched online like a bunch of other more intelligent people would do because nobody's watching TV anymore. Wow. As I called by the biggest political people, congratulations, sir, on a big win. And all of a sudden, the ballots were dumped all over the place and a lot of horrible things happened, Trump asserted. Trump, I've been watching the hearing on OANN, his brand new favorite network. I bet you Newsmax is feeling a little bit slighted, but to be fair, OANN were the only ones who were there to cover it because Yahoo, ABC, NBC, CNN could not be fucking bothered. Not even the old stepchild over there in the corner, Fox News, gave it a fucking moment, but they sure as shit reported on the aftermath of it, so it leads me to think that they are still trying to hedge their bets, but guess what? They've pissed off so many fucking people. They've lost 50% of their audience, 50 since the election night, so good luck on you, kids. Then Trump thanked those willing to sign sworn affidavits, the speakers defending him, and all the great patriots who rallied behind him, between the voter suppression and all the horrible things that happened to poll watchers. He went on to claim that Team Trump has written testimonies piled up to the ceiling. Once again, see the difference between what Obama in the previous video was lying about and what Trump lies about. He does this. This is a perfect example of it. Okay, are affidavits literally piled up to the ceiling? No. Were you always for gay marriage, Barack Obama? No. Stop lying about it. The poll watchers weren't allowed to watch in many cases. They were whisked out of the room. Trump fired. People were reporting that they had to use binoculars. We've seen the videos, we've seen the pictures, and we got the affidavits sworn in today. If you were a Republican poll watcher, you were treated like a dog. If you consider putting people in cages, dogs, what, your predecessor did very well. And the Democrats had no problem. They were literally pushed out as it was rough tactics. Trump argued that the election appeared virtually over at 10 p.m. on election night, but then the weirdest thing happened that weren't questionable to Dominion voting systems or election officials. The election was lost by the Democrats. They cheated, Trump charged. It was a fraudulent election, urging to turn over the election where more votes exist than there are voters. That's a fair allegation. And where mail-in votes were illegally processed after November 3rd, the president fired. And that is especially what has happened in Pennsylvania, where they were, just fucking shuffled in, even though Justice Alito, I'll say it again for about the 1,000th time at this point, made a special ruling that those two different types of ballots need to be segregated, and they can't really make any sort of changes to the voting system. That requires a very long and very lengthy legislative procedure that Pennsylvania kind of started to go through, but they didn't actually follow up on it. So none of this stuff is actually technically legal. So it's looking pretty good right now. The whole world is watching the United States of America. Well, up here in Canada, sure as fuck am. And across the borders, or across the seas rather, it's still borders, come on now. UK is very, very concerned because Biden really is not being friendly with them right now. And they could really use all the help that they can get, because the Conservative Party there, oh my fucking God. That's kind of like the Conservative Party of Canada right now. Just full of left-leaning cucks is the nicest way I can put it. Anyways, what'd Trump say? It is a disgrace that this is happening to our country, Trump lambasted the left. During the meeting, one witness came forward to allege a suspicious ballot dump that favored Biden. Haven't heard of that accusation before. Normally, we would expect to see a smooth curve going up, not any big spikes, the witness testified, referenced the anomalies of loading those votes, and pointed to a prime indicator of fraudulent voting. Giuliani asked him to confirm the volume of votes counted in 90 minutes. The witness then identified 337,000 votes in that time span. When you look at the entire curve with all these spikes, can you calculate how much of the vote was counted for Biden and how much for Trump? Giuliani pressed. The witness replied, close to 600,000 votes. I think our figures were about 570 some odd thousand that all those spikes represent over time. For Biden, Giuliani questioned. Correct, the witness responded, counting only a little over 320, no, it's not that bad, 3,200 votes for Trump. That is 570,000 votes for Biden, 3,200 for Trump. Let that sink in for a second. Kim Jong-un's opposition probably got more votes than that. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to make a Sidney Powell claim here, but I am saying that that is a little sus, to say the least. The crowd then erupted into gasps and laughter. How about that, one attendee uttered on camera. It was kind of funny. It's about a minute and a half clip, and I'll show you here in the Twitter thread that we got pulled up at the different hot takes that were coming out of this first day of the Senate hearings. So as you can see here, crowd gasps after finding out the mysterious spike in votes. Pennsylvania had 600,000 votes for Biden and only 3,200 for President Trump. How about GOP poll watchers on one has denied access to watch polls in Philadelphia, giving sworn affidavits based on that. Or GOP observer Justin Queter, good man. Hundreds of thousands of Philadelphia mail-in ballots were processed with zero civilian oversight. So not even poll watchers were allowed to see those ones come in. I guess those may or may not have been the ones that were on the truck. Who fucking knows? But that's the hot takes coming out of there. It's a fairly long and arduous watch. But yeah, dude, it's a bunch of stuff. And yeah, now we're actually getting hard evidence. It's no more, oh yeah, we can prove all of this stuff. All this stuff's out in the open. They're making their case heard in front of the Senate there, which is the exact correct way to do this. It's not to make these hyperbolic claims and later have to prove them in court, like one formerly associated and still kind of tangentially associated a lawyer to the campaign. But how about this until we get into the much more late-breaking news? Trump team says it won hearings in Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania legislators on voting concerns. The hearings will be held in an effort to provide confidence that all legal votes will have been counted and the illegal votes had not been counted in the November 3rd election. So yeah, what we've seen today is going to continue to carry on in Pennsylvania, and then a few days later, after the Thanksgiving Day festivities, they're going to kick off in Arizona and Michigan. I believe Michigan's up first, and then it's over to Arizona. But here's what's coming out today in Pennsylvania specifically. President Trump's legal team on Wednesday urged the Pennsylvania legislature to hold off on certifying the state 2020 election results amid allegations of voting irregularities and potential fraud there. But it's already certified. It's over. Biden won. Duh, 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 duh. Speaking after multiple witnesses attested to alleged irregularities in the presidential election process in the state, Trump campaign lawyer Jenna Ellis told the state Senate Majority Policy Committee part of what the legal team did ask initially was to stop the certification so that we could get to the bottom of this process. Clearly, you've heard sufficient evidence today that would lead any reasonable finder of the facts to say that there's been sufficient evidence that you should not move forward with the certification, Ellis said, arguing the legislator possesses the power under the United States Constitution to make that call. It's not just some over-ambitious attorney general named, I think his name's Josh Shapiro. It's definitely named Josh Shapiro. He said that it's all done and dusted. We already certified it. Au contraire, mon frère. Pennsylvania judge delays election certification pending Republican legal challenge. Well, well, well. A Commonwealth Court judge ruled Wednesday that the Pennsylvania election results should not be certified until all the Republican lawsuits challenging the voting process is resolved. So much for those allegations of no widespread evidence of voter fraud. How about that, fuckers? The order signed by Commonwealth Judge Patricia McClough, sure, bars all respondents from certifying the results of the election pending a hearing on Friday, November 27th at 11:30 a.m. Ooh, just after you can get your Black Friday shopping done. President Donald Trump's campaign lawyer, Jenna Ellis, touted the development on Twitter, saying that it's a good thing. The lawsuit brought to the court by Republican representative, he's still a Republican, Mike Kelly, Republican congressional candidate Sean Parnell, and other challenges the constitutionality of Act 77. I dropped a little hint of this earlier. The act in which the state legislature passed and Governor Tom Wolf signed in October 2019 expanded mail-in and absentee voting in the Commonwealth. The lawsuit argues that the changes made to absentee voting should require an amendment to the Commonwealth's Constitution. If a court ruled in favor of the Pennsylvania Republicans' lawsuit, it would invalidate all votes cast by mail in the 2020 election because they didn't follow through on the proper constitutionality. They're supposed to hold 2 meetings in order to pass this. They only held 1, and then Tom Wolf, we know and we have cataloged his actions extensively on this channel, knowing that he could really just get away with murder and nobody would really check the fine print until after the election. And it really looked like Sean Parnell, who's a fucking good guy, former army guy, former man who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Iraq for sure. I'm not too sure about Afghanistan. I don't want to attribute anything to him that he didn't partake in. But yeah, a real veteran, a good man, a fucking single father. Like, come on. This dude is a beast. And he was beating the fuck out of challenger Connor Lamb. He's actually the incumbent. And Sean Parnell was challenging him. He was up like pretty much every Republican in Pennsylvania before the mail-in ballot dump, which could be ruled unconstitutional because Act 77 wasn't properly put through the legislature. Dun dun dun. Attorneys for Wolf and Secretary of State Kathy Brockfire requested the court dismiss the lawsuit because of my feelings. While draped in the driest of historical arguments, petitioners' claim is audacious. Just when you don't have an argument, you need to jazz it up with a bunch of, hyperbolic terms. You just need to make it look pretty. Therefore, nobody will question it. You just look like a big fucking asshole that way. To grant it would undercut the very foundation of Pennsylvania's democracy, because we've already done that ourselves and we think we can get away with it because if we're getting chased by the cops and you pull into an alley, therefore you didn't commit a crime, and snatch the most basic rights of humans from its people. You only care about people every 4 years when you try to get elected, you fucks. The attorney wrote in their response to the lawsuit, guess what? You're going to get your fucking shit pushed in, because it was a very, very successful hearing today. And the fact that this lawsuit is being upheld and it's going to be examined, ooh, buddy, Pennsylvania is in question. Now, there are successful challenges that are happening in Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Nevada. So, guess what, guys? This ain't fucking over one bit, and I've been very consistent with that messaging. I've been putting up so many fucking videos on this topic, and it's looked dark at times and it's looked bright at times, and right now I cannot be any more optimistic that we are going to get to the bottom of this election right now. Scream how Biden won all you want in the fucking comment section. I could give a shit at this point. We're going to get to the bottom of this one way or another. And like I've been consistent as well, if Biden won a legitimate election, by all means. But we should be able to see signatures. We should be able to see if ballots were completely and properly filled out. And we shouldn't be counting any illegal amendments to constitutions that were never passed to begin with. How about that? If you guys want to be all fair about shit, but that's not what you're about. You're about a power grab, so fuck off. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.